The evening sun melted into the desert horizon like molten copper as Cowboy Jeb Carter guided his tired horse toward home. The wind carried the scent of mesquite and dust, and the sky glowed orange against the empty plains of Arizona territory. Jeb was a simple rancher, poor in money, rich only in scars, courage, and the land he tried desperately to keep alive. The drought had nearly killed his cattle. The bank wanted its payment, and his only company at night was the creaking of old wood and the whisper of dying grass. Yet this land was all he had. As he passed between two boulders near Dry Creek Ridge, his horse jerked its head, ears twitching. Something was wrong. Jeb dismounted slowly, rifle in hand. The desert was quiet, too quiet. Then he saw her, a towering Apache woman, tall, strong, wrapped in beaded buckskin, stumbled out from behind a cluster of sagebrush. Blood streaked down her arm. Her braid was loose, her breathing sharp, as if she had been running for miles. Before Jeb could speak, an arrow sliced the air and buried itself into the dirt near her feet. Jeb didn't think. He acted. "Get down!" he shouted, grabbing her arm and pulling her behind a rock. 3 armed bandits appeared on the ridge, rifles raised. They weren't Apache nor ranchers. They were bounty hunters, the kind who choose coin over conscience. And they clearly wanted her. "Hand her over, cowboy!" the lead hunter shouted. "Apache woman's worth a month's pay." Jeb knew the smart thing would be to walk away. He needed money desperately. The bank letters in his coat pocket reminded him every day. But one look at her, exhausted, wounded, cornered, churned something in his heart he couldn't ignore. "Not happening," Jeb growled. The shootout erupted instantly. Bullets sparked off rock as Jeb and the woman ducked low. She grabbed his spare revolver without hesitation and fired, back with fearless precision. Together, they pushed the hunters back until the bandits retreated into the growing darkness, swearing they'd return. When silence finally settled, Jeb turned to her. "Name?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "Nayeli." Her voice was deep, steady, and proud, like someone saying her name was a piece of her ancestors. Jeb tore a piece of cloth and wrapped her arm, noticing the strength in her stance despite the painful wound. "You saved me," she said calmly. "You didn't have to." "Yeah," Jeb replied, "but I'd hate myself if I didn't." She studied him for a long moment, eyes sharp as obsidian. "My people will come for me at dawn. They will remember what you did." Jeb didn't know what that meant, didn't know if it was a promise or a warning, but he led her to his ranch, gave her water, and built a small fire inside the barn so she could rest. Through the night he kept watch outside, rifle ready. As the stars moved across the sky, he replayed the moment he made that impossible choice. Protecting an Apache woman could bring trouble, maybe deadly trouble. And yet, something told him he did the right thing. As dawn crept over the land, Jeb felt the hair on his neck rise. The ground trembled. His horse snorted in fear. When he stepped out onto the porch, his heart nearly stopped. Across the valley, like a rising tide of shadows, stood nearly 50 Apache warriors, silent, mounted, armed, watching his ranch with eyes that held centuries of survival. And at the center of them, atop a white horse, sat their chief, stern, unreadable, ancient as the desert itself. Jeb whispered, "Lord, what have I done?" And as the warriors began riding toward him, their spears glinting in the new morning sun, Jeb realized his life was about to change forever. Viewers, if you're hooked already, make sure to subscribe. More powerful Western stories are coming every week. Jeb stood alone on the dirt path in front of his ranch. As the Apache warriors approached, dust rose like a ghostly cloud around their horses. Their eyes never blinked, their faces unreadable, proud, fierce, protective. At the front rode the chief, a towering presence draped in eagle feathers and leather armor marked with symbols. Jeb couldn't understand. Behind him, Nayeli sat tall despite her injury, her long braids swaying with the horse's movements. When the riders halted, the ground seemed to stop breathing. The chief dismounted, stepped forward, and stared directly into Jeb's soul. Jeb swallowed hard. "She's safe," he said, voice steady though his heartbeat thundered. Wounds tended. Bandits came after her. I ran them off. The chief didn't speak. Instead he raised his hand. The warriors behind him lowered their spears, but didn't look any less dangerous. Neikdili stepped forward and spoke in Apache, her voice strong despite the pain. The chief listened, his expression shifting only slightly. When she finished, he turned to Jeb. "You protected my daughter," the chief said in accented English. The words struck Jeb like a hammer. Daughter? He had protected the daughter of the Apache war chief. Jeb realized that the men who hunted her, the bounty hunters, would have killed her for profit or sold her to the army. That meant Jeb had interfered in something far bigger than he knew. The chief continued, "Many white men take from us. Few protect us. Why?" Jeb looked at Neikdili, then back at the chief. "Because someone was in danger. And I was there." The chief studied him. "You risked your life for someone not your own people." "We're all people," Jeb said quietly. A murmur rippled through the warriors. The chief stepped closer. "Come with me," he ordered. Jeb hesitated. "Come," the chief repeated. Jeb followed him past the line of warriors, past his own ranch fence, into the open desert. The two walked alone as the morning sun rose higher. After a long silence, the chief spoke. "The land is dying. The rivers are shrinking. Your ranch struggles, does it not?" Jeb blinked in surprise. "How'd you know that?" "The earth tells us," the chief replied. "And my scouts see more than you. Think." They reached a high ridge, overlooking the valley. The chief looked out across the desert. His land, the land of his people for generations. "There will come a time," he said slowly, "when our worlds must live side by side, not as enemies, as neighbors." Then he turned to Jeb with eyes sharp and ancient. "I offer you something rare, something no other white man has been given." Jeb raised a brow. The chief extended his hand. "Friendship." The word hung in the air like a gift and a warning. "Your ranch," the chief continued, "will be watched by my warriors. The bounty hunters will not return. Your cattle will graze on our water streams until rains come. Your livestock will live. And you," the chief paused, "you will live." Jeb felt breathless. The tribe was offering protection, resources, safety, things he could never have obtained on his own. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The chief nodded toward Neikdili. "Because you saved the greatest treasure of my tribe. A father does not forget." The warriors behind them suddenly lifted their spears and stamped them into the ground, a gesture of honor. Jeb felt something shift inside him. The loneliness he carried for years faded. The fear he lived with loosened. For once, he felt he belonged somewhere, even in a world divided by bloodlines and borders. Neikdili approached him later as the tribe prepared to depart. "My father's decision is rare," she said softly. "You changed his heart today." Jeb smiled. "I just did what anyone should have done." "No," she replied. "Not anyone, only the brave." As the Apache warriors rode away, leaving a trail of dust in the golden sunlight, Jeb looked over his ranch with new eyes. The land felt alive again, like hope had returned with the morning. He whispered to himself, "Maybe fate ain't as cruel as I thought." And from that day forward, whenever trouble rose in the valley, Apache warriors would appear on the ridge, silent guardians honoring the cowboy, who risked everything for one woman and earned the respect of an entire nation. If you want more stories just like this, full of emotion, courage, and the spirit of the Wild West, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive,